Where are you joining us from? Use the chat box, please, to share with us where are you joining us from. So where are people located? Liliana, can you see that?
We have a lot of New York City, Bonn, Nairobi, UK, Accra, welcome. South Sudan, Italy, Afghanistan.
Wow, we have people all around the globe.
More people are joining. As you come in, please share where you're coming from.
Okay.
Vienna, Kenya again, Bolivia.
Wonderful.
Oh,
okay. Should we start, Liliana?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Well, my name is Felipe Martin, and I will co-host today along with Liliana. And by the way, we will be recording this event. So welcome to this special event, a collaboration between Innovation Day and LIDERA, taking place during the first ever UN 2.0 week. LIDERA is the UN Secretariat Leadership Community, where any staff willing to develop their leadership skills can do so in a collaborative way with other colleagues. And Liliana, over to you.
Thank you, Felipe, and welcome to everyone. As Felipe mentioned, we've teamed up today to bring you a special Innovation Day with the LIDERA community to share this very exciting example of transformation and leadership at the team level. NewWork, it's a grassroots network of UN culture catalysts, which ran a successful pilot of Agile teams in the fall of 2020. Yes, it was a virtual time and an unusual period for all of us, but this was a very exciting pilot with teams across the Secretariat. And since then, the colleagues at the UN Office of Geneva, the Resident Coordinator Office in Guatemala, and United Nations Office in Vienna have been using the Agile approach to drive culture change in UN teams. And in the chat, we'll be sharing some information on that pilot, as well as the report that was done by the University of Geneva on the outcome of the pilot.
Well, thank you, Liliana. Before we dive in, we want to gauge a bit what Agile means to you. We will create our cloud that I'm going to launch now. So please share with us, what does Agile mean to you? You can type up to 2 words, no more than 2 words, please, just 1 or 2 words. So submit your responses. A lot of flexibility, I see.
Adaptability, interest, dynamic, I like that.
34 responses so far. What are the responses we have? Liliana, can you see?
Yes, it's a lot of flexibility, flexible, fast product, changing mindsets. That's a great one. Fit for purpose, change oriented, light on your feet, reiteration. That's a good one, reiteration. Someone posted in the chat, dynamic. Perhaps some people cannot access the poll. I'll just give you a few more minutes as people come in. Also, again, just tell us, what does Agile mean to you? We still have quite a lot of people joining.
Great responses. 53 so far. Thank you for all your responses. 57 now. But flexible is the
Flexible
the
is flexibility. There's a lot of variations of flexible.
Okay, 58 responses. No more responses.
59.
59. See if we reach
Mark,
60, 61. Perfect. Thank you so much. So now I think that it is time to welcome our UNOC colleagues. Right, Liliana?
Yes.
So I will give the floor to our colleagues in Geneva, Malta, Miriam, Mercedes, Virginie. Please, over to you.
All right, so I'm trying to share again screen to give you a little short presentation about the project. So here we are, and how it started, the adventure of Agile. So first, I would like to briefly talk about what led us here to this 4-module workshop, how this learning journey started. And it all started, as Liliana mentioned, with a pilot project by NewWork with teams located in Bangkok, in New York, in Geneva, observed and evaluated by the University of Geneva, which then issued a report on the experiment and possible scale-up in the entire UN. And together with Insight Pact as facilitator, we learned what it means to have an agile mindset. We experimented the tools of an agile approach, including self-organizing in a non-hierarchical way. And then the question was for us, what next? How do you try to build on this and spread the ideas? How to use the approach to help the UN make a culture shift as well? It was, at the time, it was after COVID, and it seemed that changing were faster than ever. So we had, and we still have, what some people describe as the fourth industrial revolution, a VUCA world, so volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. At the same time, we have a generation of newcomers who have grown up in this context and have different expectations and needs. We also have organizational structures and even our grading system, for example, and we have budgetary constraints that are not exactly designed for rapid adaptation to a changing context and to the needs of beneficiaries. Our very hierarchical system contributes to slowing down innovation as it relies on a top-down management and might create silo-type mentality. So it's obvious that there was and there still is a need for culture change in the organization to remain relevant and make the best of the workforce who has different demands. Regarding these demands, many studies and articles talk about evolving needs of desires of individuals at work. We also observe these taking place in the UN. This is what comes out of the surveys conducted among staff in the last few years. All staff across all generations want a better flexibility, which can be a combination of less rigidity in roles and structures and clear boundaries. We want to feel safe being what we are and be included. We want more autonomy, be empowered in our responsibility, to have a sense of purpose and know that the work we deliver has an impact. We are also keen to take care of ourselves and balance energy between our lives. We will want to develop potential, use our skills, have a fulfilling work life. So we can all relate to this long list, and all these elements were strongly present in the staff engagement survey. So our take is that if we can't change the structure, we can act at the team level. So we're convinced that many of the needs coming from the individuals, from the organization, and from the context can be more effectively dealt with at the level of teams. The team is a space of its own, where team members can create their own culture, which might be different sometimes from the organization culture. If we focus our support on teams, we can positively influence its culture and hence, down the road, try to have an impact on the organization culture. So discussing within the team is also about adopting a common language, experimenting together with new behaviors and practices, agreeing on the next steps. So the way we approach this is first demystify Agile. We know that people come with their preconceptions about Agile. They sometimes think it's only for IT teams or big companies. That is maybe, again, a new management theory. So we try to translate Agile into a language that is more easily understood in the UN. It's all about team performance, team efficiency, team connection. We try to convey that we don't have to wait for the organization to transform itself to become more agile. And probably most importantly, we emphasize that teams can pick and choose what works best for them. We introduce Agile as one size fits one. The second important angle in our approach is to inspire change, to show how Agile principle can benefit both teams and individuals. And finally, we start with a mindset, which we think is what we need to build the other tools. It's interesting to note that progressively, initiatives and priorities defined by the organization have aligned with this evolving context and confirmed some of the direction we have already taken. So Agile, for example, is a great tool to implement our new values and behaviors. And we make connection when focusing on the mindset, for example. The quintet of change values a culture of agility, learning, and adaptability, which is also part of the Agile mindset. And NewWork now is considered as a culture community for UN 2.0. Regarding the content of the workshop we proposed, we based our approach on a modern Agile. So modern Agile is a modernization of the manifesto that was issued by specialists in software development more than 20 years ago. So it's not a new management theory. It's defined by 4 guiding principles, which we explore in detail in the first workshop, what they mean, how concretely we put them in practice, in particular in each single team. The purpose behind this project was and is to really adapt the way of working to changing constraints and needs, and to have teams choose the best way to work and deliver in an autonomous, but also in an adaptive way. The workshop is divided in 4 separate modules. The first one is about Agile mindset. Second, about reduction. Third one is really about reviewing team connection points and focusing on huddle. And the last one is about iteration and retrospectives. What sometimes we mix up with what Agile is. It's not only iteration and retrospective. In terms more specifically, so the first one about Agile mindset is really a foundational module covering the principles and values of an Agile mindset. So we explore together what is the use of having a growth mindset, what is a relation connection with the values and behaviors, what is psychological safety, which we talk a lot about at the moment, and the relation between psychological safety and inclusion. The idea with these modules, entitled Priority Setting and Reduction, which was recently added, was to ensure that the team is working on healthy and solid basis. Not only that there is psychological safety, but also that the team knows what is expected from them as a team, what is acceptable workload, what are the mechanisms in place to cope with this workload. So this module is designed to help teams take control of their work through alignment with their team goals and hopefully a better sense of priorities. This requires a solid engagement from the team leader, and this is based on 3 elements that are very much related to leadership skills: clarity, communication, and courage. We could say that it's not exactly agile as such, but the context is such that we cannot expect team to be agile and efficient if the foundation is shaky. This third module, called Team Connection Points, help teams to reassess their approach to meetings and introduces huddles, which is a short and dynamic meeting technique that helps team align priorities, maintain cohesion, and distribute workloads. So the purpose of reviewing team connection points is really to leverage clarity and connection, which is key in the Agile approach. And finally, the fourth module goes deeper into Agile ways of working and highlights the benefits of organizing in an iterative manner for eventually greater team performance. So we explore the principles behind iterations, sprints and time boxing, so it's a bit more technical, how to set team goals and organize work in that manner. It also covers the idea of retrospectives, a technique for leveraging team learning to work more effectively as a team. So 22-23 have been quite busy for us in terms of scaling up Agile. We train about over 30 teams and groups, 55 since 2019, as we started with Huddle as a standalone technique initially. And we're quite proud to say that Agile Mindset and Huddles are available in 3 languages now, English, French, and Spanish. Reduction module is in English and French, and iteration only in English for the time being. So what is interesting and encouraging is that teams expressing interest in these workshops are really diverse, showing that Agile can be useful in multiple contexts and for multiple teams. So that's all for the little introduction, the presentation of our project. And I, as a transition, we'd like to hand over to Virginie to maybe give an example of one of the principles, or have a little exercise, common exercise about one of the Agile principle, which is make people awesome. So over to you, Virginie.
Thank you so much. I see that there's a hand raised. So if you don't mind to write the questions in the chat or in the Q&A, that will be fantastic, and we will have time for question and answers at the end of the session. So thank you. So make people awesome, and that's one of the 4 principles of the modern Agile. And I would like you to start with a quick question for yourself. So in the workplace, when it comes to making people awesome, and I like this picture because you fly. So the question I have for you to answer in the chat is that, how do others make you feel awesome at work? What do they do? So now it's a little bit of introspection before going to see how you can do for others. Let's go first with yourself. So how do others make you feel awesome? If you could answer this question in the chat, that will be fantastic. Recognition, thank you. Empowering me, making me feel needed, to be heard, recognize and appreciate your energy, acknowledge contribution, free space, smile at me, thank you, that's very easy. Giving me autonomy, appreciation, thank you emails, give me space by trusting me, seek opinion and ask brainstorm, appreciation, ask for advice, when they care about me. And what I like the most of that is that in less than 10 seconds, you already have answers. So that's fantastic, because it means that you are working in a team that already makes you feel awesome, and that's great. And imagine, and I like the question on how are you really? So then you can share how you feel, how you are as a person. Take me as a team, space, and when someone sees the whole of me. Fantastic. So that's very important, because sometimes we focus too much on, we forget the persons, and the people are at the center of what we deliver. So basically, why it's important of making people awesome is that because we need to focus on the person and on the customer. So if you think of yourself about if you are in the team that you are working, you are serving people. For example, in our case, we work in HR, so we serve all the organization. People working for the RCOs, you work for all the country. You work for UNICEF, you work for kids. So basically, you need to think about who is your customer, who is your client, And also, so if you are also an internal service provider, is that who are your colleagues that are your customers and how you can better serve them by making them feel awesome, by understanding their needs, by really helping them to have a great experience with your product or with your services. And if you do great your job, they will do a better job. So for instance, sometimes when we deliver workshops, we don't see the end user. So for example, we are supporting OHCHR, we are supporting, and we have Perry that will give us some testimonial about her work. So it's us through our work that we do properly, that we make them feeling awesome, they are helping others to also change their lives. So it's very important to recenter the person, the people in the center of our deliverables and our core business. So it also helps people to be more curious and open to ask questions, to challenge the status quo. And a lot of you say that they give you space to think, to be creative, to be trusted, and that's very important. And again, the empathy. So to be kind, to be nice. And there's a concept that I like with empathy is that you need to be kind, you need to be empathetic, and also you need to think whenever you are talking with someone is that, are you adding value by what you are saying, or are you removing value? And so that's a good question that you can ask yourself instead of, for example, criticizing someone. Are you adding value if you're telling something about someone or not? So then it's also about how you help to make other people feeling awesome. And I like because people are assets, yes, and they are our main asset. So different ways to create a better experience. And all what you have said, I mean, we are 125 people connected, is that all what you want, all what others have been doing for you can do it for others. And thank you so much for sharing your experiences. And if you can take a bit of time to read what others have written, because it can give you ideas. So what can you do? And they are very easy things to make others feel awesome. So express gratitude, get to know the person, be open and ask questions, show empathy and listen, capture the feedback and act on it, provide help, co-create a solution. We are a team. You're not alone. Make and keep commitments, and how they might feel. They might feel recognized. And I think that this is one of the first words that came into the chat: recognized, acknowledged and understood, included. We speak a lot about inclusion, but how are we adding value into inclusion? Are we including everybody in our teams? Are we including all our clients? Being heard and respected. Do we listen? Do we listen to answer, or do we listen to really understand what the other person is saying? Inspired. I mean, it's independent on the level in the UN. Sometimes you say, oh, I'm just a G staff, I cannot inspire. Everybody is inspiring. So everybody is a leader. So you can inspire others. So it's not based on the level, it's based on you as a person, as an individual. They feel supported, and that your perspective and effort matters. So this is very, I mean, we didn't have, and it's like we are all called to lead. Thank you, Felipe. That's a very good reminder. And here this exercise was a very short exercise, but what we want to do and what we wanted to showcase is that through the Agile methodology and the workshops is that we are giving you tools and techniques that are very easy to use in a day-to-day basis that can make a difference on how you work. And so just to conclude is that what we want you to do is to make a positive impact in the world and a positive impact in your work environment, because you are the ones, as Felipe is saying, we are called to lead, and we are the ones that are going to make a difference, and your attitudes are the ones that are going to make a difference. So with this short exercise, I would like to hand it over to Liliana and Felipe, because they are going to share, they're going to have a conversation with 3 of our colleagues that are going to share their experiences on how Agile has been implemented in their organization or their teams. So Felipe, Liliana, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Virginie and Miriam, for this excellent presentation. It's so exciting to see these changes happening, and especially at the team level, it's daunting to think about changing an entire system. And of course, systems thinking is important, but one team at a time, we can really start to push the boundaries of what's possible within the necessary regulations and boundaries that we need to have as an international organization. So I just want to introduce very quickly, we have Rachel Foreman here from the library at the UN Office of Geneva, Megan McAdams from the UN Office in Vienna, and Perry Blind from the Resident Coordinator Office in Guatemala. Welcome, ladies. And I will turn it over to Felipe to kick off the questions.
Thank you, Liliana. And Megan, I think that I am going to put you on the spot now. I'm very curious about your experience everything Agile mindset into your team building. How do you ensure that communication flows effectively within your Agile teams, especially considering the emphasis on self-organization and collaboration?
Thanks very much, Felipe. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, good morning. And thanks again, Felipe, for the good question. So on the topic of team building, the modern Agile principles, which we've had now a really nice introduction to, thanks to our Geneva colleagues, of making people awesome, making safety a requisite, experimenting and learning rapidly, and delivering value continuously, gives a powerful platform for teams and also serves as an opportunity to reflect and explore new ways of working, especially as related to communication and collaboration. Maybe I can first share a little bit about our journey here at UNOV. So we participated in the training with our Geneva colleagues and looked at the training and expanded it and piloted a full day learning experience for teams, leveraging the workshop from the Geneva colleagues. And the current format is an in-person workshop where teams go through interactive exercises with the goal of introducing and promoting skills related to the modern Agile principles and also connected to the values and behaviors framework as a foundation. And the training takes teams through examples of brainstorming and recognition activities, as we've just seen, that allows teams that teams can apply also leaving the training in their everyday work. And specifically related to communication, this is a theme that runs throughout the workshop, including in the section on making people awesome, which focuses on recognition within teams. And we also guide teams through an ideation exercise in the delivering value continuously section of our workshop. We employ a round robin technique, which allows teams to generate and refine ideas as they go along the lines of the question, how can we communicate and collaborate more effectively as a team? So in the workshop, teams then come up with some ideas and decide what they would like to then take forward. And some examples of activities that we've heard related to communication have been revamping staff meetings, for example, and some online collaboration tools. Just to share, to date, we've piloted the workshop with 5 different groups here and in our Vienna headquarters and UNODC field offices with positive outcomes, and we're looking forward to rolling the training out to more teams. And maybe if I could just say, since we're here in UN 2.0 week, just to say, I believe that, how we work together as teams is a really crucial factor, as Miriam said, the cornerstone in how we can achieve our goal as an organization to have a UN 2.0. And, following the principles of Agile as a team creates a psychologically safe and supportive enabling environment, and it allows teams to capitalize on our individual and collective strengths. Thanks again for the question.
Thank you so much, Megan. Liliana.
Sorry, I pushed the wrong button. I don't need to raise my hand. Thank you so much, Megan. So exciting to hear. UN operates in many different contexts, and we have headquarters, we have the field, and now after the reform, we have the country offices, and that whole new set in terms of the work in the development context. Perry, can you tell us about applying agile approaches in this context? Does it work? Why are you seeing changes in the culture, in the behavior? Because you are trying to bring multiple entities together in one location.
Thank you, Liliana. Thank you, LIDERA. Thank you all colleagues for inviting Guatemala and giving a voice to the field. Well, as most of you may know, resident coordinators' offices are babies of the reform. Since the GA resolution of 2018, which empowered the resident coordinators as the direct representatives of the Secretary General in the 162 countries and territories where we serve, our purpose is to support the collaborative and integrated work of the UN country teams, exactly like Miriam and Virginie mentioned when they described the Agile perspective. So our collective goal is really to support our host governments to achieve sustainable development in line with their own needs. So how do you do that? You cannot do it with the conventional technical assistance mindset. You should avoid anything close to being technocratic. And when we do our Sustainable Development Cooperation Framework, which is no longer called Development Assistance Framework, it's not just a change in the wording of these main documents that as our CEOs we need to co-develop with our governments and other partners. It is really about this culture change that you're talking about, and it has to be based on data and behavioral science, and it has to be also conscious of the culture, which is like the sixth component of the UN 2.0 quintet. So this is where I really see the agile mindset and the reform philosophy emerging. Now, of course, it's been 5 years. We are a toddler. We're learning how to walk and talk. What is really sure right now is that as the core team members, again, existing in 162 countries and territories, with this agile mindset and believing in the core of the reform, fail for us is really the first attempt in learning. And small gains must be appreciated because they accumulate. And the only way to start doing that is with the psychological safety that Megan was also referring to. In Guatemala, we have over 30 agencies, funds, and programs. That's over 1,000 staff members. And they all have to feel comfortable. And they, moreover, have to have this energy to eagerly contribute together. States converge creatively and efficiently so that, like I was saying in the beginning, we can all together support our resident coordinator, lead the country team to support our host government, to leave no one behind. A couple of examples. For our cooperation framework design, we created a petit comité because we wanted to unleash the small but interconnecting co-designing space. To do the document and to implement it together. Again, petit, small. Now we are preparing our host government to participate in the Summit of the Future. How do we do that? Of course, we bring all relevant stakeholders to the table in small working groups, and we co-create around the 6 SDG transitions, including the Global Compact and the Declaration of Future Generations. And the Agile is really crucial to develop the capacities, to bring the policy regulation into the tables. And those are also part of the 4 engine room actions that you might be familiar with from our common agenda. So where is the culture change? Well, definitely it is work in progress. But we know that our partners, our government, and others now appreciate this iterative approach, how small prototypes may ignite passion from bottom up to top down and diagonally for development, always in line with the development needs of Guatemala and with flexibility. Thank you.
Thank you, Perry. Fascinating, of course. Could you maybe tell us a little bit more about the inclusion aspects and how Agile is helping you build greater inclusion in the field?
Of course. Thank you. I'm going to give 3 examples. I'm going to start with how, after receiving 3 excellent sessions from the UN team in Geneva on the Agile, we actually implemented what we learned in the niche of creative economy. We started at the end of 2021. It was also the International Year of Creative Economy. And there, our goal was really to apply what we learned, but with really innovation in mind. So, we chose to bring strange bedfellows together, like agencies, funds, and programs that were not members of our country team, or that didn't have physical presence in Guatemala, or even those that didn't sign yet the UN Sustainable Development Group, that framework, because we wanted to hear new voices. And, long story short, we created 3 beautiful SDG prototypes, small but creative. And, when we first met for the first time for most of these agencies that came together, failing was not described in terms of budget. But, we were looking at the fact that even if we failed, we brought those voices together for the first time. Even if the prototypes didn't transpire, we might as well build some new ties. And that is what the RCOs also are mandated to do. But when the prototypes materialized, of course, we were very happy. We presented them to the government. They gave feedback. We ironed them out, hence the, iterative process of building on, simply always working to enhance. And then we pitched them to the international development community last year. And this year, we organized actually a South-South cooperation project with Panama on the Agile SDG prototyping methodology. So when we look back, when we started in 2021, we had no idea how this would go on, but we had the vision and the passion. 2 other examples. One is the Nexus Squad. We bring the humanitarian development and peace pillars together by simply using the data approach to create a space where our OCHA colleagues, humanitarian, and PBF colleagues, Peace Building Fund, can have the space to talk in Guatemala, what they do, and how they can converge. So not only do they not duplicate efforts and resources, but build on the synergy. So, this data approach is also very much akin to the SDG Nexus approach. Now, thanks to these efforts, our field teams also are learning and getting conscious about how to make their operations and their mindset more agile and cooperative. And finally, I'd like to end with the Inclusion 2.0 initiative of the UN in Guatemala. If we have UN 2.0, we should also have Inclusion 2.0, we believe, because this is the year that we're going to start using officially the new framework for values and competencies. And inclusion is one of them, of course. Integrity, humanity, humility are the others. What we do is we invite inclusion champions from the headquarters of our agencies, funds, and programs in Guatemala. And we ask them informally, what does inclusion mean for you? How do you make your teams more inclusive? And how do you bring this efficiency component of being agile with the empathy component of being agile, which might not be straightforward for many? And impact is unfolding, but here we use the foresight component of UN 2.0 because our vision, our ultimate aim is to bring all these nuggets of wisdom from the country level, from the regional level, and from the global level of all of these funds and programs, giving them visibility, yes, but creating also at the end a qualitative mapping of what inclusion means for Guatemala. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Perry. Thank you for that very informative and interesting answer. And hopefully we can tap into more of that in later, go more in depth. Back over to you, Felipe.
Thank you, Liliana. I have a question for Rachel. Rachel, I would like to know what changes are you seeing in your team dynamics and the impact that this has had in terms of cultural change?
Thank you, Felipe. I'm coming in today as a member of a team, the Library and Archives at UN Office of Geneva, that's been learning and experiencing and experimenting with Agile, and also as a very grateful client and customer of the UN Geneva learning team, the colleagues who brought this to UNOG and have been sharing across the globe. And really, what's been great to see is not only while they're teaching us this Agile approach, the colleagues have also been practicing Agile, and we've seen that model in their ways of working and developing this program and continuous iterations, and definitely delivering great value to us, the clients and colleagues along the way. For us, we got to see in the Library and Archives, we got to be a part of one of their earliest iterations. Miriam mentioned the standalone huddles training. So now that's module 3 in this suite, but we got that one first. It was back in June of 2019, and these kind of structured daily meetings around the whiteboard. It was really an efficient and inclusive way to come together, and became this reliable point of information sharing and planning and progress check-ins, and also built the trust and cohesion within the team, and made us more adaptable and ready for change, which was perfect timing because this was the lead up to the lockdowns. So as the situation was changing by day, the huddles actually were really an essential tool for us, keeping updated and adapting as a team. And actually, once lockdown started, we experimented with the different tools, and we've kept some of this idea of the huddle in our work, but maybe we've fallen off the wagon a little bit. So realizing now how valuable that was, looking back, I think this might be a recharge for bringing the huddles back to our team. And it was actually 3 years before we ended up participating in the mindset training. That was the next one we did. And for us there, this kind of shared language and understanding and bringing that into the work of our team, doing that training as a team was really valuable for us. On the shared language, we even had, I don't know, it was kind of funny for us. We had split into separate groups to take the training, and some of the colleagues started talking about making people awesome, other concepts from the training during meetings, really bringing it into the work already. And it wasn't until the next day when I had participated in the training when that kind of made sense. But I think having that shared understanding of the concepts it was definitely valuable for us, and also we came away with more of that understanding of the importance of understanding for each other, that empathy and fostering the psychological safety. Like the others have mentioned, it was a key part of the learning. It brought out also that expectation for psychological safety, the expectations also for the freedom to fail, and seeing things as learning between management and the team. All of us kind of having that same understanding, coming together as a team, also having the endorsement and the full engagement from the library management. I think, well, that's part of how we ended up in the earliest pilots, because our director is definitely a NewWork champion, and a lot of other champions, leaders within the team at all levels. And in that kind of sense of experimenting and bringing out questions and ideas and creativity and concerns with empathy, we also ended up doing some kind of projectifying. Library services are kind of, could be a kind of ongoing thing, but but really seeing how we could innovate together. When we came, finally, for us, the third module was the iterations and retrospectives. And looking back, it was really impactful for us to see how we could look back not only at what was done or achieved, but on how we work together, that real focus on how we're working and improving our ways of working. And actually this invitation to share today, that's kind of been a spark among us for kind of a retrospective in itself, realizing how that Agile mindset has kind of permeated our ways of working, even if we're not saying it out loud or conscious of it exactly. But it's a reminder and a refresher to bring some of these things back. Well, right now we're kind of like all teams in the UN, I guess, facing some really big, rapid changes with, well, liquidity crisis at UNEC has caused us to have the library building closed just in the last few weeks. So starting today, we have a new kind of mini pop-up library service that we've just designed within weeks, and we've been ready for this change. We're also at the very same time having a refocusing in the library section. That's all the process has been an inclusive process, but also seeing those changes as they come in being experiments. So we're making a change, but then we can be more open to making these rearrangements and experimenting, knowing that we're going to come back and revisit, and it's not a forever thing. It's going to adapt. So just all of it is a process. And again, a big thanks to the UN Geneva learning team, and also to LIDERA and the NewWork colleagues, and all of these efforts and contributions from all around the world and all levels in making that cultural change. And I think, yeah, the team coming together as a team was really an important part of it. But also these engagements, the encouragement that comes to connecting with colleagues through these different venues. It's exciting to see this, all of it coming together here in one toward UN 2.0. So thank you a lot.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing all of these changes. Amazing how adaptable and flexible you are being thanks to the Agile methodology. Liliana,
That's
yes.
awesome. Felipe, do you want to just go straight into the next poll? And
Okay.
That way we can get to the Q&A and still have a little time.
Sure. So now that you have learned about Agile in the UN and you have heard different teams, we would like you, our audience, to think how you could benefit from Agile. So I am going to launch a new poll, and we are going to ask you to rank these Agile concepts according to their potential usefulness in your team or work context. So can you please now, based on what you just learned, please rank these Agile concepts according to their potential usefulness in your team or work context. Rank and submit your response, please.
This is hard.
Yes.
I want to put them all first.
I agree.
I want to put all of them on the top.
Okay, I'm changing it. I'm putting in the order that I think we need to actually apply it.
We have 25 responses so far.
See, we are agile. Everybody interprets different way. That's co-creativity.
Mm-hmm. 36 responses, and it seems that psychological safety is the top one. Nine responses. Okay, 54. Let's see if we can reach 60 responses. $56. So what are the results, Liliana?
Psychological safety is at the top, and then we have experiment and learn rapidly, make people awesome, growth mindset, team connection and huddle, and lastly, iteration and retrospective.
Good. So the time has come for the Q&A session, right?
Yeah. Oh, I had not closed the poll. Yes, indeed. So there is actually already one question in the Q&A. So we welcome others to post as well. And Eduardo asks, to have an agile team and a true impact, does it need to be a top-down choice? If yes, what is a good scenario perspective to see agile teams in the public sector? I think that would be a question to maybe Miriam or Virginie. We did hear about the importance of having, senior management support, but is this something that should be pushed from the top down?
Yeah, well, they are the message we'd like to convey in sometime reality, and there is a limit, it's true, and to the extent we can go without having any support from leadership. You can have practices within the team, you can decide to work in a certain way, but it works as long as the entire team, including the team leader, are on board and agree on how to proceed. And that's why also we decided, because we moved a lot, we evolved a lot along the way, and we decided to offer this training for teams because it has an impact if everybody's on board and decide to work in a certain way together. And the module on reduction in particular requires some strong involvement of the leadership in the team, but also up. Because if you want to reduce, and we know it's a bit provocative, but it's an important topic for us, you need to be courageous. You need to be very clear about expectation, team work plan, for example, but also organization directions. And so it's important to seek support from management. So yeah, and it's not black and white, but of course, it's much more efficient. Of course, it works much better if you have leadership on board. But we started with teams at the bottom, and it works, and it starts changing the culture of the organization. So it's a progress.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. If leadership is involved, it's fast. It goes faster, but you can also start your own movement. So be the change you want to see, basically.
Sounds great. Now, there's also a question on how do I organize training for my team? So presumably, how do they sign up for this training?
Yeah, I guess I haven't seen who asked the questions. Maybe reach out to us and we can see. We have, of course, we're a team of 4, limited resources, but we also, like we did with our Vienna colleagues and other colleagues in New York, we hand over the material for them to deliver with a small TOT. Of course, the idea is not that everybody can just take the material and do whatever. We're quite attached to the content and the message, and but the idea is really to spread the message and to start a culture change. So we can talk and see what is best for your team.
Indeed, I think we need to figure out how to scale some more these opportunities for people. Did you want to add something, Virginia?
No, it's okay.
Okay. Yes, Felipe.
No, we have a question from Karin.
There's another question.
Yeah, Karin says, you were saying that teams do not necessarily have to coincide with the organizational structure. Do you have any experience with teams across the organizations? Sorry about that, Liliana.
So more cross-functional teams, I think. Maybe that means like project-based teams where people are temporarily taken out of their structure to work on a project. I mean, that's something that we are advocating for.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting because actually, even within the UN, we used, and I'm sorry, Perry, I hand over to you then, but just to give an example, in certain departments, because they have cross-functional teams now, so that they tend to take the training together, for example, iteration or huddles, because they know that they will have to work more together and they need to share the same language and have common new behaviors and practices. So they decided to, even if they're part of two different sections, traditionally, they decided to have the training together because they know they will have to work together a lot in the near future. It happens anywhere de facto. So it's it happens. It's not that you choose to have cross-functional teams, it's that it exists and it has to. It's no choice now. So over to you, Perry.
Yes, thank you. Very briefly, the whole purpose of the reform is to form these interagency or interorganizational groups. So in Guatemala, as it is the case in other parts of the world, you have to put UNDP, UNICEF, UNFPA, and all these other agencies around the same table because the priorities of the Secretary General and the SDGs are cross-cutting. So we have a disability inclusion interagency team where we have to bring more than 13 agencies together to the same table for the first time. And Agile is a great way to start, at least speaking the same language, but everyone bringing the richness of their own vocabulary to the table, and you create this whole one language of the collective UN. And I believe that's a really good example of where the Agile and the reform in purpose and in making converge.
Thank you, Perry. We are almost out of time, so I would like to just thank all of you, my co-host Felipe. This has been a lot of fun doing this together. Nice. And of course, our amazing colleagues in Geneva where NewWork actually started and was born. You are driving change already for quite some time and really pushing some amazing initiatives forward. And I hope that you will come back to tell us a little bit more about the reduction module. I am personally very, very interested in that one. I definitely think there's a lot of sludge, and maybe not the greatest word, but certainly in terms of behavioral science, looking at those unnecessary processes that we're all doing in our teams, and how can we reduce that so that we have more time to really focus on the meaningful, impactful work. And also, of course, with the liquidity crisis, we need to, I think, focus on the things that really are going to have an impact. And of course, these three amazing testimonials that we had, Perry, Rachel, Megan, you are all superstars. And thank you for being these forward-thinking champions, an example of what UN 2.0 can look like and be. And Felipe, any last words?
No, thank you, everybody, and thank you also to our audience for all the questions that have been sent. Any remaining question will be answered offline, right? So thank you all. This has been an amazing event. So see you soon, I hope.
Thank you.